Hey everyone, it's Mariana, and let's talk about the Fast and the Furious Space Drift. Star Trek? Right, I mean Star Trek Beyond. So Star Trek Beyond is the third movie in the rebooted Star Trek franchise. This one is directed by Justin Lin, not J.J. Abrams. It has the core cast you would expect from the previous two films, as well as a couple of newcomers, Sofia Boutella as Jayla and Idris Elba as Krall. In this movie, the Enterprise crash lands on a mysterious planet. Members of the crew end up separated. They have to find their way to each other, also have to somehow get off this planet and fight some dangerous enemies. Look, we've all seen that first trailer, and a lot of us were concerned about this movie afterwards, myself included, but there was no way I was skipping this movie. And let me just put some information out there before I get into this review. I did not grow up watching Star Trek, and I've seen bits and pieces of it, but my first beginning to end experience with Star Trek was the J.J. Abrams reboot, which I really liked. I also pretty much loved Into Darkness, which I recently found out some people hated. I'm still confused about that. That probably has to do with being fans of old school Star Trek, but whatever. Doesn't matter. J.J. Abrams introduced me to this world, and watching his two movies made me legitimately interested in checking out the older stuff. He made me want to know more. Star Trek Beyond, well, it just made me want J.J. Abrams back. Now, I did not think Star Trek Beyond was a terrible movie. It was that sci-fi action blockbuster it looked like it was going to be from the trailer, which is fine. I just somehow have higher expectations for Star Trek, and I get that that's my personal problem, and depth is not what they were going for here, but I just can't help feeling disappointed. It's not a bad movie. It was fun, there's fun to be had in this movie, but it was just fine for me. It's kind of like, okay, well, that movie exists now, it's out there, cool. Are you feeling my excitement level after watching this? So to begin with, let me tell you about some things that I actually liked about this movie. By far, my favorite part of Star Trek Beyond was Sofia Boutella as Jayla. I thought she was awesome. She was memorable, she looked great, and she's a character I really hope we will get to see more of in the future. I would love to know more about her. I also continue enjoying Zachary Quinto as Spock, and in this movie his dialogue with Bones was pretty great and pretty funny. He just really sells this character well, in my opinion, and I like Zachary Quinto as an actor in general. Karl Urban as Bones had a rocky start in this movie. I thought the dialogue and the acting in the beginning was pretty strange and unnatural, but he totally came back strong afterwards for the rest of the film. Idris Elba as the villain Krall was great because he is Idris Elba. It took me a while to warm up to his actual character because he really doesn't have much depth until way later into the film. And his evil plan is pretty standard for a villain, but in general, by the end of the movie, I ended up really liking him. And of course, every time Anton Yelchin was on screen, it was very bittersweet. I also thought most of the visual effects looked really good, even though there were some fight sequences where the editing was just a little bit too fast, so it was kind of hard to tell what was going on a couple of times. But in general, with the exception of a few times where the CGI was a little bit more obvious than the rest of the movie, it looked really good, especially the makeup. It was so detailed and so cool looking. All of these alien races looked really, really interesting. What was not that great for me was the balance between action and story. I was actually really excited for Star Trek Beyond, even though the trailers had me questioning things. I thought that they just cut the trailers to look more fun and exciting, and that the movie itself was actually going to be more than that. And the previous two movies definitely had some exciting action that looked really good and was really fun, But what I loved the most about them were the characters and how they had to work together and how they helped each other evolve and grow. And when it came to Star Trek Beyond, I thought it really lacked in the story and the character depth department. It was just kind of the bare minimum. The story was pretty standard and predictable, and it was just kind of getting us from one action scene to the other. They kind of tried to insert some personal drama with Kirk and with Spock, but really it was just in the background to all of the action and fights and explosions that were going on, and it made it kind of feel forced because they really didn't develop that very much. I just wasn't a fan of the writing, and that's a pretty big deal in the movie. What's funny is that I was actually talking about sci-fi as a genre in my video about Moon that I posted earlier this week. Not that I'm comparing Star Trek Beyond to Moon, not at all, but I did talk about Moon being good without relying on crazy special effects or action or explosions or anything like that. And it's kind of funny that here's a movie that does rely on all of these things, along with the nostalgia that a lot of people feel when it comes to Star Trek. However, if you take all of these things out of Star Trek Beyond, you won't be left with much. And I just don't feel like that should be the case with the Star Trek franchise. I actually struggled to care about what was going on the screen most of the time during this movie, and that's taken into account that I already like these characters from the two previous movies. And then there is the whole sabotage bit. Oh yes, it's in there. It's not just in the trailer. I think it was meant to be cool and fun, and it was a nod to an earlier film, but to me, it was pretty silly. It actually made me laugh, and it wasn't the good kind of I am so entertained by this laugh. It was the I can't believe this is happening right now type of laugh. The whole scene and the whole reason why this song is in the movie, which I'm not going to spoil, don't worry, but I thought it was the cheesiest thing, and that whole situation was just like, really? Fucking really? I really wanted to love this movie. I was excited to see it, and it just did not do it for me. Aside from a couple of characters, I thought it was very forgettable. The story wasn't that great. There was some really cheesy dialogue in there. And yeah, I did think that it was pretty much the Fast and the Furious in space, which maybe for some people is going to be a good thing, but for me, it just wasn't. I don't feel like that's what Star Trek should be, and that's not why I loved the first two movies to begin with. I did not watch or read any reviews of this movie before making my video because that's just not what I do, but I did see the ratings for it, and I was kind of surprised at how positive they were. For me, Star Trek Beyond was enjoyable but pretty average, and I guess if I were to compare it to other sci-fi action blockbusters, I would probably get it to 3.5 out of 5 stars. But as far as Star Trek goes, I'm going to go with 3 out of 5, and I am bummed about this. I just want smarter Star Trek. That's it for my review of Star Trek Beyond. Let me know what you guys thought of this movie in the comments below. Please try to be polite to me and to others, even though our opinions may be completely different. I would still like to know what you think. Just don't be a dick about it. And let me know, how do you feel about the J.J. Abrams Star Trek movies, and how do you feel they compare to this one, and how do you feel everything compares to the older stuff? Just tell me all the Star Trek things in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching this video. As always, I hope you enjoyed it, and if you did, please don't forget to give it a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel, and share this video with your friends. I hope you're having an awesome day, and I will see you soon in my next video. Bye!